40 seconds left. Someone's counting.
Hey everyone, I think I'm on live now. I'm YK, of course, and welcome to CS Dojo. And we have Tana Kavir as our guest today. Say hi to everyone, Tana.
Hey, hi.
Okay, so Tana is actually a good friend of mine, and she was formerly an Explorer intern at Microsoft, and she was also a program manager intern at Microsoft, and she's currently at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, pursuing a degree in computer science.
Yep, that's me.
Yep. And today's format is going to be, first of all, we're going to begin with about 23 minutes of interview or conversation. It'll be like an interview / conversation where I'm going to ask Tana about what she did at Microsoft as an Explorer intern and a program manager intern, and what kind of experience she had prior to working at Microsoft, and what her interview experience was like to get into Microsoft. And after that, we're gonna do like 7 minutes of audience Q&A session, so we can take your questions. So let's get started. First of all, actually, we're good friends. We knew each other before this. We got to know each other through this project called Sound Vision. So maybe you can tell everyone a little bit about this project called Sound Vision.
Sure, sounds good. So Sound Vision was an iOS app that transformed 3D spatial information into sound. So pretty much it takes your field of vision into sound, and it was to help those who are visually impaired navigate unfamiliar environments. And pretty much use a device and the phone, and we participated in Ericsson for that, the Ericsson Innovation Awards, to help the future of city life.
Right. So just to give everyone a little bit of context, it was sort of like a student competition that was held by this company called Ericsson. You might have heard about it, and it was in Sweden, and there were like 800 teams at the beginning, and we were like one of the top 4 who actually got to go to Sweden. So that was really cool.
Yeah, it was definitely my first time ever being in Europe, so it's a really cool experience.
Yeah, and like at the end, we didn't release the product, but like we worked with some blind and visually impaired people, and I think was there anything new you learned about like that particular audience?
Just from so when we were making the app, we did actually run it ourselves. So we would actually like blindfold ourselves and walk around the campus. And I think, if anything, I just got a new level of appreciation, and also a new level of understanding of the importance of accessibility. So I think that was the biggest learning that I got, was the importance of accessibility in software today. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I think my audio was off for a little bit. So I'm gonna start asking you about more about yourself and software development and Microsoft. So how did you get interested in software development in the first place?
So I started off in high school. I was put into a programming course because none of the other courses were available at the time. And I previously did a little bit of HTML with Neopets. They used to have those like pages where you customize your profile, I guess. So I had a little bit of experience with that. But then when I went into a programming course, I started to like it. So I continued that on for 3 years throughout high school. And after that, I went straight into university into computer science. So that's kind of my background. Before UBC, though, I didn't have any like very strong experience. It's more just like Java and the basics of like declarations and variables and stuff. Like nothing that intense or extreme.
Right. So I've heard about Neopets, but I don't know like too much about how it works. Is it
Yeah,
like a game where you grow pets and stuff?
kind of. It's this old game from like the 2000s where you have a bunch of pets, and I guess you grow them. You also make them stronger. You also like try to make money by playing games. And I guess the main goal of it was to make money to buy a house to keep your pets in and buy them clothes and like accessories and things like that. So yeah, and then with that, people would make like profile pages to like highlight their pets and such, and that had like a lot of like you could put in your own custom CSS and HTML to make it look cooler. So that was like my first experience playing around with code because I wanted to make my page look really cool. It didn't really look that cool, but you know, as a little kid with a lot of colors and everything, as opposed to the basic page that was available.
Right. So you started learning HTML and CSS and maybe a few other things from Neopets, and you were
Mhm.
like, I want to learn more about coding.
Yeah, well, actually, after that, it kind of dropped off for a bit. But then when I was put back, when I went into a programming class back in high school, it all started coming back, and I started enjoying it again. And we used to make Java games in that class, so I started enjoying like the UI UX part of that as well because it brought back the Neopets days, as well as I just enjoyed the logic and the mathematics behind it while I was in high school. So that's kind of what started my interest.
Okay. And then when you went to, the UBC in Vancouver,
Mhm.
did you immediately choose computer science as your major?
I did, yes. I went straight into computer science. UBC had that option, so
Okay. And so at some point, you were able to get your first internship at Microsoft, I think, as an Explorer intern. So could you tell everyone a little bit about what kind of experience you had prior to working there?
sure. So prior to that, I actually didn't have that much experience. The Explore program is for freshmen or sophomore, those without much experience in computer science. So I think the biggest thing that I had was they were looking for an interest in computer science, so more my involvements rather than like concrete things that I've completed. I think because by that point I didn't have anything concrete from Sound Vision or anything when I did that interview. So it was more just like where I was showing my interest. So me participating in Sound Vision, me doing extracurriculars outside of class that showed like my interest in computer science and coding, as well as you did need some knowledge of data structures. So I did study off of the Cracking the Coding interview book. And that was the main two things. It was just showing my interest and knowing like linked lists and arrays and string manipulation. Those are the main things from Cracking the Coding book near the beginning of the book.
Okay, just in case some people came just now. Sound Vision was the project we worked on. It was basically an iOS app. And what was your interview like for the Explorer intern
Right.
position?
So I'll first explain what the Explore Intern is. So it's a freshman program that allows you to explore both the three positions of being quality, PM, so program manager, and dev in Microsoft. So you're in a pod of two other interns with you. You three of you work on the same project, and you just cycle through the different roles. So in that interview process, they kind of tested in all three roles. So they would ask me some coding questions, and then they also asked me some more design related questions, like design a calculator for the blind, for example, and where you put into consideration what the buttons should be like, what the material you're going to use for those buttons, if there should be sound feedback, and you kind of just show like you have a higher thinking, like to be more PME, to have like more design oriented thinking, as well as they also did dev questions. So the usual ones that you would find in Cracking the Coding interview. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. And what did you do as an Explorer intern? So that was like for the entire summer, right? For 3 or 4 months?
Yes, it's for 3 months, 12 weeks. And as an Explore intern, I worked under the Edge team, under the quality team. So we were building an internal bug tracking tool.
Wait, so 1 second. Edge is the Microsoft's new browser, right?
It's a new browser. It's the
Yeah.
new browser now.
Mm.
Find on all new Windows. Yeah, so we were working under the Edge team, specifically under the quality team at Microsoft. So the team that I was working on, they focus more on internal tools, making a lot of internal tools. So the tool that we were responsible for was making a bug tracking tool, where pretty much those using Edge internally could submit bugs easily into and to see bugs. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We spent the first few weeks interviewing people around the floor and around our team, asking them what kind of things they wanted to see, what kind of data, um, and being like interviewing all the stakeholders essentially. And then afterwards, we developed for a really long time. And then finally, we collected data. So it's called telemetry in Microsoft about our findings to showcase the team.
Okay. So it was like a team of just interns working on this project?
Yes, it was me plus 2 interns. So all of the Explore programs, it's you plus 2 other interns. So
Right.
it's really nice because you get a nice like little team bonding experience too.
Okay. So this, like, you totally own this project and it was up to you, like what you wanted to build into this thing and what you wanted to do with it?
Yep, pretty much. Yep, they just kind of gave like the overall like motivation behind it. So we want to see bugs per the website, and then it was just our responsibility for how we want to do it and what we want.
Okay. Okay. Let's move forward now a little bit. So that was that like after your first year in university or second year?
That was after my first year in university.
First year. And then after that you know, you returned to Microsoft as a PM intern or program manager intern as they, as they call it.
Yeah.
So was that like the year right after that?
Kind of. It was so I was in the summer of first year. I did Explore, and then the fall of third year slash second year. It was after my second year. I went to another program of the summer, so that's why I pushed my internship to the fall. Yeah, so it was in the fall, and to pick PM, what happens with the Explore program is after you do it, you sometimes interview for, well, it kind of depends on what team you were originally placed in, but you interview for another role. So I interviewed to be a PM, and then I was placed in PM.
Right. And just in case people don't know, what is PM, what is program manager, and why did you choose that role for yourself?
Yeah, so program manager, there's a lot of definitions of it, but I think the biggest thing is, from what my experience was, is to see end to end the whole, like a portion of the system, and just keep everything kind of on track, as well as kind of help the business value of your projects. So you kind of look a little bit more into the business side as well. For me, the reason why I picked it because many of the PMs that I met, I really liked a few of the things they were doing. So first thing is they had full oversight of the whole project, which is really cool. Like if you ask them a question, they'll know everything about something. So if you don't know how to use a certain tool, if you ask the PM about it, most of the times they actually know like everything about it. Versus if you ask a developer, they're very concentrated. So I like the how do I say, a higher view of the project.
Right.
And the other thing I liked is that you also do code. So it's not all just business. You do code. And you tend to code, at least for me, it was like either smaller projects or like I've seen PMs code prototypes or code testing environments or just code like different things. So you kind of get more flexibility from what I found in what you want to do in terms of coding. I want to code. So when I told my manager, like the first thing I said was, I want to code. That's what I like doing. So he gave me a project purely related to coding. And there are other PMs who don't want to code as much, so they can do other things as well. So I think there's a lot of flexibility in the role.
Okay. So just to give everyone a little bit of context, when people say PM, it could mean like a few different things. It could be like project manager, product manager, or program manager. And at Microsoft, the most common term is program manager. And it's sort of like this, like these whole things are this position where you decide what the product, sort of looks like in general. Like not too much in detail because that's the responsibility of of a designer, like a UX or UI designer. And then once PM has like a mock-up of what the product looks like, then they sort of give it to the developers and they develop it. That's sort of the usual practice at different software companies. So what did you do as a PM at Microsoft?
Yeah, so what I did was I was working again under Edge, under their layout team, which was responsible for CSS. So what I was doing was collecting data about the usage of certain CSS properties across the web. So pretty much I was crawling 2 million URLs and collecting data and aggregating that into a website to be viewable by anyone.
You say you were scraping 2 million websites?
Yeah, yeah.
What did you use to do that?
So we have like an internal crawler system where pretty much I made the code, the script to scrape the information. and I just ran it on that crawler system that they have internally. And it went over Chrome, Firefox, and Edge, and it just scraped all the information off of some random source of 200 million URLs. I'm not exactly sure where we got that 2 million from, but it's supposed to be a very representative sample. Anyways, and then I was just responsible for collecting that data and then cleaning it up to make it actually readable and useful, because you would get, I think I got 9 terabytes of data back after doing that. So that it's cleaning it up and making it actually actionable. And that was pretty much my whole project, was making actionable data for the other development teams or other PMs or whoever else.
Okay. And you say the goal of that project was to analyze how CSS was used?
It was A, to analyze, but B was more to give more actionable feedback to our teams. So specifically, I was looking at @rules. It's a new feature from CSS. So I was specifically looking to how people nowadays in their websites use @rules, and if our developers or our team can be better suited for the web.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just in case, there's someone who's not familiar with like CSS and HTML. CSS and HTML, are basically used to build web pages. And there are like always new developments in CSS, I think. So there are like always new features and stuff. So you were basically like maybe counting the number of times that rule was used and how it was used?
Yeah. So counting the number of times it's used, what kind of values people used like for it, because like what kind of specifications they would use, and kind of just getting an overall percentage of like what is used where, and what kind of sites use these.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just moving back a little bit, I guess, what was your experience like, to become a PM or program manager intern at Microsoft?
The interview experience, or
Yeah,
the actual
your interview experience.
Right. The interview experience, from what I know, it varies from person to person. But for me, there was no technical questions for me. It was more questions related to like higher level thinking of design, or even like how to find business value in things. So I got questions like, if you were to pitch Edge to a director, how would you pitch it? What business value can you like show for Edge? So things like that. But I know that other PMs who also interviewed, they got technical questions. So they got like code this thing or code that. So I think it really depends on the interviewer, because some PMs tend to be very, very technical, and some PMs, I guess, aren't as technical. They're more business focused. So I guess it depends on your interviewer a little bit.
Okay, that sounds good. And what did you think of, your experience as a PM intern, and then before that as a Explore intern?
Okay. Explore, I loved it, and I would recommend any freshman to do it. I think it was a really great experience. It was really fun. I learned a lot, made really good friends. It was just an overall really good summer. So definitely recommend to anyone. PM, for me, it was a very different experience because I was in the fall. So I also got a little glimpse of what full-time life would be like. It's very different in the summer than it is in the fall. I liked it. I wouldn't say it's like of the same excitement as Explore, just because Explore was in the summer with like 2,000 interns, a lot more fun.
Yeah. I think what people don't see immediately is that, I interned at Microsoft too. And in the summer, there are a lot of interns.
Yeah.
And there are like 2,000 interns. And there's like even an event where every intern sort of comes together and there's a concert and stuff. So it's almost like a giant party, right? Sometimes.
Oh, yeah. And there's like events like every single day. And then there's like foods, and like there's just like constantly like things to do. Like you're barely bored. I wasn't bored at all, like last summer at all. Like I never had a moment of being bored because there's just so many events. I think in the fall it's a lot different. I still really liked it, but it was like much more realistic, I guess, if you could put that as a word. Everyone's really nice and everyone's really easy to work with. But of course there wasn't like the 2,000 interns to hang out with, and there wasn't events every single day. It was a lot more like normal life kind of thing. And as a PM, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed my team. I really enjoyed talking to people. Yeah, I think I enjoyed the talking to people. I enjoyed coding. I think I was lucky in that my manager was pretty responsive to me. So I just told him I want to code, and he gave me a project that was heavily technical. as opposed to something not.
Nice.
Really
And
happy.
yeah.
Mhm.
So you're living in Seattle now.
Yeah.
So working on your projects and taking courses at the same time. What's your like what's your life like in Seattle?
My life is very interesting. So, a few like random facts, I guess, is so I'm living with a roommate right now in a 200 square feet place. So, probably like the size of a dorm room. And we're working on a project together, so that's why we're living together. And I guess like the random facts is I actually live off of Soylent, which is not very conventional, but I don't know if you guys can see that. That's all the empty ones for like the past, I don't know, 3 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, so in case people don't
Um,
know, Soylent is this like, it's supposed to be food you can drink.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. It's supposedly, I mean, I like it so far. I've liked it. I've been on it for like many months now. But it's 20% of your daily nutrition in a bottle. And it's like drinkable. And it comes from Amazon. So
Yeah.
you can order on Amazon and it's like 2 day
Yeah.
shipping. So
And this live stream is not sponsored by Soylent.
it's
Just to
not, but I
say, yeah.
would love it if anyone knows anyone there. But yeah, pretty much living off of Soylent, and I'm perfectly healthy, so this is
That's good.
that is
It's
good.
working for you then.
Working great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then living in this very small place. I'm still doing school, so I actually spend a lot of time going back and forth from Vancouver to Seattle, attending classes and quizzes, but working on my project here. So it's a bit of a mess. But yeah, that's my semester in the next few months for me.
Okay. And we talked about it before a little bit. And what I found interesting is that how you don't have a lot of stuff.
No,
Yeah.
because of a really small place and there's two of us. I think like I only have like one suitcase of things, which is like very different from the usual where like if you're living somewhere for a prolonged time, you can't fit all of your belongings into one suitcase. So yeah, and like we sleep on like camping cots, um, because it was the easiest and the cheapest.
Wait, camping carts?
Camping cots. So they're like these beds that you usually take for camping. So they're foldable,
Oh.
and you put them in your car and you unfold them. We sleep on that because it was the cheapest and the easiest to get to. So but very minimalistic, I would say, for the past.
Yeah. And you didn't even have a desk, right? At some point.
Oh yeah, for a while we were using like an ironing board from Goodwill. It was like $3, and our chairs are actually like $3 each. The ironing board was like $4 maybe, and yeah, we were using that for a while. It was really ergonomic, so I kind of think that's a business idea if anyone wants to go with it, to make like an ironing board desk because they adjust heights really well. But now we have a desk from Goodwill, which is like $10 still. But yeah,
Yeah, that's better.
yeah.
Okay, so the live audience Q&A session is coming up. Start submitting questions via live chat. We're gonna take a look at them. You can ask Tana or me any questions you have. And for future live stream, the best way to get updated on that is just by following CS Dojo's Facebook page. You can just search for CS Dojo on Facebook for that. So let's do live audience Q&A. Tana, do you see any interesting questions?
Scrolling up, reading a little bit. Let's see. How are still reading?
Yeah, that's cool.
Shout out any questions if you see any.
Yep. Is someone's asking, are you from India?
I'm not. I'm actually Bengali, but I grew up in Canada, Victoria, my whole life.
Okay, someone's asking me. I am a University of Waterloo student. That's in Canada. What do you guys think of that school? Do you ever hear of it in the industry? Definitely. Like when I was interning at Microsoft, I'm from the UBC, which is in Vancouver, and there were like maybe 5 people from UBC, and there were like 40 people from University of Waterloo. So I think it's definitely the best school for computer science in Canada.
Definitely, it's insane. Even like they also have a lot of meetups, so all the tech interns that I'm from Waterloo, from Facebook, Microsoft, Google, all of them meet up a lot. It's definitely like really like one of the best and has the best network.
Yep. Uh, Tenzin Nguyen, I think, is asking, what is the best website or way to get internship?
So my process of getting my recruiter was I attended the career fair at school, and I kind of just started from there. And it's really important. One advice I have for everyone is if they don't reply to you in 2 weeks, please email them again. Sometimes they forget, and like so many people I know have missed out on opportunities because they just didn't think it was too rude to email again. But you should, like, definitely if it's been 2 weeks, email again until you get a firm answer. But yeah, mainly just from school.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with that career fair thing. So it's different for big companies and smaller companies. For smaller companies, I think the best way is to just sort of build your own network and maybe email people on LinkedIn. But for large companies, going to career fairs, it can be really, really effective.
Mm-hmm. I did get paid. I saw a question. I did get paid to work at Microsoft as both an explorer and a PM intern.
I think someone was asking like a salary question. Would you be willing to share that?
What? Sorry.
Like, someone was asking a question about salary, how
Uh,
much you were getting paid.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say specifically, but I can kind of say that Explorer was a little bit less than a regular intern.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm allowed to fully disclose the exact amount. But it was
Um,
good pay regardless.
right. So I can, just share my personal experience, I think, at Microsoft. So as a program manager intern, I was getting paid. I mean, I thought it was kind of crazy, but I was getting paid like 7,000 US dollars. And when I heard it, I was like, "What? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense." But that's sort of like, what the level, they go for it, like these big companies.
Mm-hmm. I would say most big companies are pretty similar in pricing.
Um, there's another question for me. What programming language do you recommend me to start learning if I'm starting to learn any programming language? So my advice is sort of always the same, either Python or JavaScript. And if you go with JavaScript, go with like HTML, CSS, and then JavaScript. Do you have any thoughts on that, Tana?
Yeah, that was a similar path that I went through with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I also really recommend, maybe I'm a little biased because of my computer science degree, but to start learning about the fundamentals. And you can use that in any language. There's no language specific, but actually like try to learn it rather than just like how to build a website, but also like the things behind cracking the coding interview, like the data structures and stuff.
Okay, I'm looking for more questions.
Mm.
Someone says, what about Ruby? So I would say Ruby is like a really simple and nice language to learn. It is getting less popular these days, but it's still like a good first language to learn, I think. Someone's saying, any interview tips?
The biggest interview tip I have is talk your thoughts out loud. That's really, really helpful for the interviewer. And also, I think most of my interviews have gone really well whenever I'm just talking through my thoughts. So as they ask a question, I repeat it. As I'm writing down things on the board, I like say them out loud. I also, before I code, make sure I understand the whole problem. So I will ask questions, make sure I understand all of the problem, and then start coding. And even when I'm coding, I'm still talking about what I'm coding and why I'm doing certain lines and what my thought process is.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, someone's asking me for some interview tips. I
Mm-hmm.
think what a lot of people miss is how interviews are not just about solving the technical problem. It's also about communicating your thoughts and trying to understand what the interviewer like wants exactly, so that you can answer the question exactly that they're asking. Okay, so should we take one more question, Tana?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm just looking through some questions here. Okay, someone's saying, any website you recommend for self-learning coding? I have some thoughts on that. Do you have any thoughts?
You can start with your thoughts, and then
Okay, sure.
um,
So I would say Codecademy is good. I also heard that. Let me just type it in, in the chat too. So Codecademy. I thought it was Code Academy, but apparently it's Codecademy, which is confusing. And then another one is I can't remember what it's called, but it's similar to Codecademy. Like any of those interactive websites is good. And after that, I would recommend lynda.com
mhm.
and Udemy, like video websites. Anything you want to add, Tanat?
I guess most of my like online learning has been preparing for interviews. So I really like using HackerRank and Elite Code. Sorry, I was blanking. So yeah, those two. But I don't know of any specific like video sites. I also recommend also looking at like if you have time to look through like online video lectures from universities if you guys want like a
Right, I
university.
think courses on Coursera and stuff are good too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
The one I was trying to think of, was Free Code Camp. Free
mm,
Code Camp is sort of, I think, similar to Code Academy, but it's free.
mm,
Yeah.
cool.
Okay. I guess that's it for this call.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for coming to my show,
Yeah, of course.
and thanks everyone for being part of this. And I'll see you guys in the next video.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.